What's up, guys? This is Anime Crossover. I'm back with another episode of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Sage of Six Paths Part 9. And if you did enjoy this video, give this video a like, and if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more crossover fictions with a twist. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 16 Champions vs. Villains. Tension was at an all-time high as Naruto and his ally, the Hippocampi, engaged in a silent stare-down with their opponents, Kabuto and Cerberus, the Eagle and Kariya. The three great Olympians brothers fighting each other is not something you see every day. "Let's do it," Naruto remarked firmly, as the Hippocampi agreed. "Wind Style, great breakthrough," he exclaimed after inhaling air in his mouth and expelling a powerful burst of air at Kabuto and Kariya, who had ordered their beasts to dodge, indicating the start of the combat. He performed a Wind Style Jutsu without hand signs. "This should be interesting," Kabuto chuckled as Cerberus stopped dodging and shot several lava-molten pebbles at the sea creature and its rescuer in rapid succession. When the Hippocampi saw the approaching attacks, it released a tremendous torrent of pressurized water from its mouth, reducing the momentum of the rocks until they fell into the sea. When a whistle reached its ears, it recognized the blonde teenager. "Nice counterattack, Sway," the horse said confusedly. "You don't like the name?" Naruto asked, smiling as Sway let out an approved snort before hearing the titles of two approaching strikes. "Water Dragon Jutsu, Water Style, Windstones." "Oh no, you don't," Naruto mumbled as Sway veered backwards to get some distance between the water-shaped dragon and the massive lightning-amplified tornadoes. Sway snorted confidently. "How about some water?" They waited until Sway felt comfortable with Naruto. "Now, Divine Down Current Wind Style." When Naruto launched a vortex from his palms at the same time the water horse produced water from its mouth, Kariya's eyes widened. The pressured water mingled with the wind vortex, causing the water to grow larger and wider before easily breaking through his tornadoes in Kabuto's water technique. "Avoid it." The eagle did just that, pulling in its wings and diving into the Hippocampi. Sway, on the other hand, had other plans. It opted to face the dive straight on by seizing the eagle's head with its main arthropod arms and giving a hard headbutt that sent a tiny earthquake through the ocean. But it wasn't finished yet, as it coiled its serpent-like tail around the eagle's left wing and whirled around in a 360-degree spin before slamming into Cerberus and Kabuto. Because of the impact, they tumbled against the cliff face, forcing massive rocks to collapse on top of them. "Wahoo! Nice, Sway. Now I'll just..." A tremendous rumble shook the ocean, scaring him and Sway, who responded with a whinny. "What the hell?" "Sway, turn us around," said the creature, and when they turned, Naruto was astonished to see a pillar of yellow light on the horizon. "What exactly is that, and am I supposed to go there?" "Watch out, Naruto." However, Kurama's warning was too late, as Cerberus and the eagle tackled Sway with their combined weight, generating another tsunami that sent several waves smashing in all directions. After repeatedly pounding their weight against the Hippocampi's back, Kariya and Kabuto looked to see if the seahorse and Naruto were still alive. "Let's go get our prize," Kabuto said, smirking as Kariya did. With a single order, the eagle gripped Cerberus' torso with its claws and flew to the dazzling light, their owners believing victory was theirs to see. What they didn't observe was that both entities opened their blue and orange eyes mere minutes later. "Urahara's store, oh, man. They're going at it," Renji exclaimed, as did the rest of the room. Ichigo agreed with a nod. "How about that water horse? I've never seen anything like it." That creature is the Hippocampi, Poseidon's personal creature since ancient Greek times, created by Poseidon to help serve the Olympians and maintain balance in the seas because his enemies were constantly attacking him. "Like who?" Orihime inquired, her face troubled. "Like the Titan who ruled the seas before him, Oceanus, who did not take part in the Titanomachy that established Poseidon's people, the Olympians, as rulers of the earth." The Hippocampi, along with Zeus' eagle and Hades' Cerberus, proved to be one of the strongest and most powerful creatures in the service of the Olympians during their reign. Yoruichi continued as Urahara drank his tea. But there was something else that bothered Poseidon. Which was? Chad wondered, as did his friends. The two elder Shinigami exchanged glances and both answered, "We don't know." The youths collapsed on their backs with their feet in the air. "Heaven's throne, incredible. He can manipulate the wind to perform attacks at will." Michael observed the downed Naruto and Hippocampi. "And that lightning clone he used against the Nemean lion was one of a kind. How can someone like him in that hooded figure remain hidden for so long?" Gabriel sighed and shrugged her shoulders. "I don't know, brother, but he looks strong," she said, pointing to Naruto's torso, asking, "Do you really think he'll be targeted?" "Most likely. But there's something else bothering me, Michael said as his sister gazed at him. Since the end of the Great War, the Archangel has worked diligently to keep the heaven systems running and the people's trust intact. This also entails keeping an eye on other factions that may seek to attack them in the other two factions due to their reduced numbers of brethren. What is it? Gabriel asked solemnly. Her cheery personality alters whenever something bothers her brother. The Olympians reveal their champions and allow us to view the wager, which can only mean one thing. What? Michael didn't respond right away since he was watching Naruto lay on the ground before his eyelids abruptly opened. Poseidon told me about the one who would inherit it all, and now that I'm watching the wager, I think he's found the one. You mean? Gabriel said, surprised, as her brother nodded and returned his attention to the game. Well, things will certainly get exciting from here on, she exclaimed, her childish demeanor returning. While watching the game, Michael silently laughed at his sister. By the end of the wager, the blonde shinobi will unintentionally be given with new responsibilities. Underworld, that was awesome, said a young boy with crimson hair and blue-green eyes. He was dressed in a light green short-sleeved jacket over a dark red t-shirt and matching slacks. He was sitting on his father's knee, watching the battle on the couch on the projection screen. Yeah, Milikas, it's awesome, especially when the Hippocampi grabbed the eagle with its tail and crashed it into the Cerberus. Want some more popcorn? Cerberus inquired, holding out a bowl in front of his son, Kariya standing behind them. That is, until his wife and Milika's mother squeezed his cheek while removing it away from him, prompting him to whine. Seriously, Cerberus, in front of your parents? I apologize for my husband's behavior, Lord Gremory and Lady Venelana, Kariya replied to her in-laws, who were sitting next to her husband and son on the opposite couch. Lord Gremory, like his children, Cerberus and Rias, wore a white suit with a black shirt and flaming red hair. Venelana, his wife, was a stunning woman with short brown hair. Her son spent the weekend with his grandparents to learn more about the Gremory clan's history and to spend more time with them, particularly with his grandma. Kariya knew her son and mother-in-law adored each other, which bolstered their bond. She didn't expect them to return so quickly, and they're now watching the wager as well. It's fine, Kariya dear. Cerberus was always like that, Lord Gremory stated as he watched the screen with a chuckle. Poseidon's champion is putting up a good fight against two opponents, and his teamwork with the Hippocampi is surprisingly good considering they've only met for the first time. His wife, on the other hand, did not find it amusing in the least. Cerberus. The devil strained at his mother's tone. You should know better than to act like a child. What manners are you teaching your son? Was all the Crimson Devil could utter with his bride clutching his right cheek. She eventually let off when a loud crash drew everyone's attention to the two other animals beating on the water creature with their combined weight until it and its rider were rendered unconscious. Well, that's disappointing, but that's to be expected of a human, Venelana replied angrily. Milikas quickly indicated the screen with his finger. Look, 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 the elders said as they watched the blonde boy and the beast open their eyes simultaneously. You spoke too soon, grandmother, Venelana said, as the rest of the grown-ups smiled at her smiling grandson. Azazel's residence, impressive, despite only meeting, that boy and the Hippocampi work well together. Valley noticed his superior's look and said, HMPH, he doesn't appear to be strong and has shown no promise to me. You might as well give up on him and concentrate on the other two. The soul vampire appears to have potential, but he is clearly outclassed by the other two, and they're young. I like them young. A large sweat drop landed on Valley's brow. You realize what you just said, right? Azazel swung his shoulders and head down, a melancholy aura surrounding him. As the devil moaned irritably, more pronounced sweat drops fell down his brow. How do I put up with this guy? He returned his focus to the video, which showed Naruto opening his eyes with determination. Show me what you've got, Blondie. Ocean of the Pacific. Minutes later, out at sea, the two champions noticed a light coming from an island that didn't appear to be inhabited. Something clicked in the shinobi's head. HMPH, Kabuto murmured, looking back to see something on the lake that was barely visible. You should tell your eagle to speed up, he said with a sneer. Why should I? Snorted Kariya, just as he felt a familiar spiritual pressure creeping up behind them. Quickly. How did he get here so quickly? Water rose from the ocean's surface, revealing the Hippocampi gliding through it like nothing and Naruto flicking them off as they passed past. Okay, this guy is starting to irritate me. That's Naruto for you. He never knows when to give up. Kariya vented his annoyance before commanding his beast to fly faster. So this is what surfing is like, Naruto exclaimed as he watched the approaching island. Great job, Sway, he said as he patted the Hippocampi's head against his touch. It's understandable given that the Hippocampi was created by Poseidon and its whole power is linked to the sea itself, as well as the fact that it's the fastest sea creature in Greek mythology and one of the few that can compete in battle with the Kraken and the Hydra. At this rate, we'll be there in no time, Sway said as its entire shape vanished, propelling Naruto forward into the ocean. What the hell? Sway, where are you? Inquired Naruto, searching the waves for his partner. Then he felt something slither over his left arm, which led him to discover a small Sway. Can you tell me what happened to you? The stone. What? Inquired Naruto as he dashed to the island's beach. What are you on about? The stone must have been some kind of sealing jutsu, and it has sapped the Hippocampi's energy since then, resulting in its current weakened state. Naruto nodded quickly before tucking Sway into his jacket. Stay in here until you regain your energy, okay? He said with a small scream. Before zipping up his jacket, he grinned slightly and looked up at the peak that holds the light. Two heavy thumps shook the earth with a whooshing sound as he took one stride forward. Earth style, mud wall. After turning around and making the required hand signs to block the incoming red fireballs, a gigantic wall with the Uzumaki swirl crest appeared in front of the kneeling Naruto with his palms on the ground. After its task was completed, the Jinchuriki lowered the wall, showing a smug grin bearing Kabuto and Kariya standing next to their pets. Are you guys ready to get serious? Said Naruto as his chakra flashed back to full vigor, surrounded by a dark blue aura. In his right hand, he then formed a Rasengan. Amazing. Kabuto mumbled, a maniacal grin on his lips, as a purple aura with a frightening black outline encircled his body, indicating his chakra level at full strength. Kariya was taken aback for a moment before releasing his spirit energy, generating a red aura and changing his blade of wind into a solidified yellow lightning blade. Cerberus, don't interfere in this battle. At all. The subterranean beast snorted as it sat on its limbs, while the eagle lowered its body to repose after Kariya commanded it to. After a minute, the three champions charged at each other and fired their attacks when they were within striking distance of each other. As the island trembled from the collision, a brief pillar of light soared up into the sky. The wager's climax has begun. Heaven's throne, incredible. As the TV showed Naruto blocking Kariya's lightning slash with a wind jutsu, Gabriel had to agree with her brother. The boy is strong enough to stand up to two people. Do you really think Poseidon found the one he was looking for? Yes, Gabriel. I do believe. The young man's powers are proving it. Watch, Michael stated as the television showed Naruto manipulating the water after attacking the other champions with his hands. He's demonstrated an ability to manipulate the elements in ways we don't comprehend. But it appears he's most proficient with wind attacks in the energy sphere, Gabriel said, referring to Naruto's creation of two clones and sending Kariya flying into woods with a barrage of Rasengans before summoning a vortex-like attack at Kabuto. It appears so, Michael said, pausing to consider his next move. Azazel and Cerberus are undoubtedly following the wager and have their sights set on the three champions. They'll most likely try to persuade them to join their factions, but the blonde youth appears to be loyal to the Shinigami, as Zeus champion indicated before. Gabriel. Yes, Michael, Gabriel answered confidently and reservedly. I will prepare one of our finest scouts to conduct surveillance on him. She saw her brother's smile. Thank you, Gabriel. I can always count on you, Michael replied cheerfully as his sister returned his smile. The two seraphs then returned their attention to the TV. Underworld, the boy's mastery of wind powers far outweighs that other guy. I concur, father. He's tough, for a human. I concur, Lady Venelana. Milika sighed, knowing that his parents and grandparents would have to keep a watch on the youngster as well as the other champions. Father? Yes, son? Cerberus asked, turning away from the TV to face his son. Are you planning on reincarnating him as a devil? The adults were perplexed and puzzled by this. Graphia. Yes, Lord Cerberus, Graphia replied when she sensed a shift in her husband's tone and realized he was serious. Send for Rias and her queen. I have a mission for them, Cerberus remarked calmly as Graphia nodded and vanished in a white Gremory clan magic circle. Azazel's residence, ha 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 ha. Valley massaged his ears to make sure they were still working after the fallen angel's scream. Do you have to be so loud? He was greeted with a pat on the back. Come on. Those three are interesting, but I know the blonde kid has your attention. I saw the look in your eyes when he released his power to full strength, Azazel remarked slyly, as Valley shrugged his shoulders. He is aware of Valley's battle-hungry appetite and persistent pursuit for extremely powerful opponents, but he is also aware that he awaits the day when he will take the head of the Red Dragon Emperor. So what? Valley said as he watched Naruto parry his opponent's punches and counter with his own. He might be worth battling, he thought as he heard Azazel summoning another fallen angel and ordering him to spy on the blonde. Unknown Island vs Naruto and Kabuto. Several shockwaves and explosions shook the Mystery Island as Naruto battled Kariya and Kabuto's squad. But Naruto knows that only one of them will win the wager and that Kabuto intends to betray Kariya as soon as possible. It's simply a matter of when and how. Despite their equal power, he currently dominates the duo. Naruto leaned back to avoid Kariya's lightning sword and countered with a leg sweep, pushing the bound off balance before launching a right hook that connected to the man's face. Kariya collided with the ground and skidded until he came to a stop, next to a standing Kabuto. The three champions had been fighting at full power, as evidenced by their appearances. Naruto's dark jeans had multiple ripped areas around the leg regions, scuff marks around his impermeable jacket, and a minor bruise on his right face from Kabuto's haymaker. Kariya's torso is covered in bruises, including 3 spiral scars from the 3 Rasengans he caught off guard 3 times, and his jeans have begun to wear down from the fierce struggle. Kabuto, on the other hand, had many gaping holes in his robe that revealed areas of his skin, as well as a few cut marks from a wind jutsu Naruto had thrown earlier. Naruto produced hand signs and slammed his hands on the ground again after landing from the air. Earth Style, Swamp Trap Jutsu. Kabuto and Kariya used the trees to avoid a massive mud swamp that formed out of nowhere and caught the eagle and Cerberus in its extremely thick and strong muck. Impressive, Naruto. You trapped our creatures to keep them from assisting us. Now it's my turn. Kabuto channeled chakra through his mouth. Water Style, Stream. A powerful stream of water charged at Jinchuriki, who avoided it by leaping and hovering in the air. Kabuto's face lit up with a cocky grin. Watch your back. With his instincts heightened, Naruto drew a Hiroshin Kunai laced with wind chakra and turned around to deflect a lightning slash from Kariya. You didn't forget about me, did you? Kariya smugly asked. No, I would not forget you, Naruto said as he drew in his legs and double-kicked Kariya in the stomach, sending him flying across the sky. But Naruto wasn't finished yet, as he vanished in a yellow flash and reappeared behind the flying, shocked Kariya with a Rasengan the size of a basketball in his right hand. Grab this, giant Rasengan. The impact of the technique drove Kariya spinning towards the ground, causing a thunderous explosion in the air. Exclaimed Kariya as he collided with the ground, leaving a large crater in his wake. Pain rushed through his body, particularly in the center of his back, to the point where it seemed like it was melting. He sensed a presence approaching him. Uzumaki, you will pay dearly for that. Naruto sighed and shrugged. No, you won't. He smacked his left fist on the ground near the crater's edge. 5 glowing points appeared around the crater before 5 beams came from them and linked at the top, making a blue translucent barrier with the Uzumaki clan swirl crest at the top of the energies. You won't be able to get out of there, Kariya, he said, turning away from the barrier, opting to ignore the bounce curses in attempts to break the trap. What he didn't notice was Kariya vanish in a strange circle beneath him. Hopefully, things will go smoothly. I don't think so, Naruto said as a massive spike of spiritual pressure jolted his senses and caused him to swivel his head around in time to see a fist in his personal space. Naruto's eyes widen as he feels a crushing ache in his face before experiencing the sense of flight. Ah! He exclaimed as he flipped and bounced through a slew of trees until he collided with the edge of the mountain, leaving a body-indented crater. Naruto slid down the wall and sat at the foot of the mountain, taking a deep breath and contemplating what had just occurred. How could I have missed that? Don't tell me you've got nothing else, Naruto. Naruto looked up, expecting to see a slithering shinobi in his black robe, but he was shocked. No, I'm appalled, not shocked. Kabuto stood before him without his robe. His skin is pale white like a white snake, he has fangs protruding from his lips, a snake the size of his torso appears to be connected to his abdominal, and slit pupils of a snake with darker pigmentation that reaches to his ears with horn-like protrudes extending out of his head. What the hell happened? Urahara's store, ouch! That was a nasty punch, Renji said as he saw the playback of Naruto smashing through the trees and into the mountainside. He's tough. Really tough. What's that strange pigmentation around that snake guy's eyes? Orihime inquired, as Rukia shrugged her shoulders. That's similar to Naruto back at Soul Society, Yoruichi explained. When Soi Fan and I arrived at Sokyoku Hill, I saw Naruto's eyes resembling that of a toad's with orange-reddish pigmentation around his eyes, and his spiritual pressure was unbelievably strong. Ichigo agreed with a nod. That's correct, but is that what allowed Naruto to compete with the old man at the time? Most likely, Urahara said, waving his fan. The transformation is called Sage Mode, according to what Naruto told me after much persistence on my part. How does he enter Sage mode? Inquired a perplexed Uryu. Perhaps he could use the transformation as a replacement power for his lost abilities. Sorry. Naruto made me promise not to tell anyone about his transformation, Urahara replied cheerfully, closing his fan. Only he will inform you because he understands the technique of using Sage mode. So much for that strategy. Does Naruto have a chance to win this wager if this Kabuto can use a similar transformation? Rukia was concerned about her companion, and she and Renji wanted to learn more about the enigma that is Naruto Uzumaki, who saved the former without hesitation despite the fact that he didn't even know her at the time. Yep. With no problem, Urahara answered flatly. Feeling relieved, the adolescents returned their focus to the screen and discreetly congratulated their friend. Unknown Island Naruto versus Kabuto. I felt natural energy in his punch the moment it connected. Could he have? This feeling I'm sensing right now. Did you learn Senjutsu, Kabuto? Naruto thought as he rose to his full height and rubbed his back. He replied with a smile, where did you learn it? I learned it from Mount Ryuchi's Great White Snake, after my modifications. Modifications? You really are like that traitor Orochimaru, Naruto hissed as he stared at Kabuto. I'm not sure whose blood or abilities you stole, but I'm not going down. You want a genuine fight? The distinctive toad pupils, yellow eyes, and orange pigmentation appeared in and around Naruto's eyes, indicating the employment of his Sage mode. After all, you've always said you wanted to settle this once and for all. That's right, Naruto. That's right. Kabuto laughed smugly as Naruto slipped into a combat position, ready to battle. Demonstrate the strength you used to defeat me all those years ago. After a few moments of both sages staring down at each other, it happened. Both shinobi Shunshine flew to opposite parts of the sky and launched unstoppable barrages of punches and kicks at each other, sending small shockwaves through the air when punch met punch, kick met kick, and so on, with neither one letting the other get the upper hand. That is, until Naruto utilized Frog Kata to slip past Kabuto's defenses and thrust a fast open palm assault on the latter's chest. Another small shockwave emerged from the impact as Kabuto was sent spiraling down towards the ground before collapsing into it, and Naruto stood in the air with his arms folded, waiting for his opponent to return. That can't be it for you, I know. I thought you were going to beat me. Oh, I do. Kabuto shunshined in front of the shocked Naruto, exhaling an ethereal dragon with its left claw bearing an orb. Sage Art, White Rage Jutsu. Ah. Naruto closed his eyes to protect them from the sudden brilliant light, but he didn't expect the blast of deafening noise, so the shinobi swiftly shunshined to the ground to put some distance between himself and his opponent. My ears aren't ringing, and my eyes aren't burning. After a shunshine, Kabuto took advantage of Naruto's brief incapacitation with a flurry of blows. I'll outperform you in your senjutsu. Along with your defeat, I shall reclaim my pride. I'm glad you're still standing because I'm not done with you yet, Kabuto gleefully said as he sent Naruto flying up the mountain with a high kick to the chin. A smirk appeared on the Snake Sage's face when his opponent bounced off the ground a few times until the latter regained his composure in midair and landed on his 2 feet. Neither am I, Kabuto said as Naruto vanished in a yellow flash before a strong fist connected to his torso, widening his eyes even more from the pain. Naruto remained stoic in his position, his right fist stretched out, as Kabuto stumbled back from him, wheezing out the air in his lungs from the contact. Despite this, I trained and perfected senjutsu a long time ago. To be honest. Naruto paused as he rose erect before taking several steps back. Your punches tickled like a small feather. Well, then, say something. You say your Sage mode surpasses mine? Kabuto snapped his head up, wrath in his eyes. Let's see what you think about this. Kabuto shunshined and threw a left hook, but Naruto easily sidestepped it. Then Naruto grabbed the outstretched hand, pivoted on the balls of his feet, and slammed Kabuto on the ground over his shoulder, leaving a large crater from Naruto's Sage mode enhanced strength and counterattack. Naruto took a step back from the sudden attack of the snake connected to Kabuto before catching its head with his hands. He watched the snake lurching in his grip for a moment before spinning in a 360-degree circle and letting go of it in the sky. Up to the top of the mountain. Naruto cracked his shoulders as he muttered, Flying Raijin Jutsu. Was that the 4th Hokage's hallmark technique, the Flying Raijin Jutsu? Kabuto said as he slammed through the hillside. Naruto appeared next to the panting Kabuto, who was bleeding from his forehead, before turning his attention to the pillar of light that drew him and the other champions. In the center of the mountaintop lay a chest with a golden Olympus symbol emblazoned on it, surrounded by 3 pillars, and on top of the pillars were statues of Poseidon, Zeus, and Hades pointing their signature weapons at the chest. That must be it, thought Naruto, with Sway poking its head out of his jacket for a brief moment before it went back inside, and began walking towards the chest, leaving behind a seething Kabuto. Why do I have a feeling he heard a bellowing yell coming from behind him and turned around to see Kabuto going through hand seals so quickly it looked like his hands were about to turn fire. Sage Art. Before unleashing their attacks, both warriors paused for a minute. Water Technique. Water Dragon Jutsu, Roar of the Storm God. Naruto exhaled a large pressurized tornado-like blast of wind chakra with a blue outline just as Kabuto unleashed a much larger water-shaped dragon. Kabuto was stunned when the wind jutsu tore through his water jutsu, but he should have known better given wind chakra's unrivaled cutting power. He was ready to dodge out of the way when he realized his feet wouldn't move. "Why can't I move?" asked Kabuto as he attempted to do the shunshin but discovered his chakra was rapidly depleting to the point of his sage mode deactivating. He continued to move when he noticed markings in the center of his stomach. Fuinjutsu symbols. His eyes widen as he recalls Naruto attacking him earlier with that open palm strike, and how the blonde shinobi managed to transfer himself immediately that one time with Kariya. The tornado-like blast swallowed the weaker Kabuto as it ripped through the mountain wall behind him and continued blasting into the open sea and skies until it came to a halt. Naruto panted heavily as he stared at the huge hole created by his storm god's roar and the unconscious Kabuto with his eyes rolled back into his head. "Well, I guess the new technique worked great on its first use," he said as he commanded his Sage Mode and the Hiroshin formula on Kabuto's chest to deactivate and disappear from further use. "Though it does take a lot of Senjutsu chakra, but I'll work on there isn't anything in here," he said before disappearing in a spray of water once more. Mount Olympus. When he returned to the Hall of the Gods and saw Poseidon standing in front of him, the Jinchuriki calmed down. What exactly is going on? There was nothing inside. What happened to the prize? A little disappointed by the lack of a prize, asked Naruto. "Close your eyes and lift up your right hand, Naruto," Poseidon said contentedly, perplexing his champion. "Okay." Naruto closed his eyes as he raised his open hand. A weight hit his palm a second later, and when he opened his eyes to look at it, Naruto was astonished to see the golden sword that the sea god wielded on his person. "This is unacceptable, Lord Poseidon. This is your arsenal." He attempted to return the weapon to the Olympian, but he was stopped by the Olympian's hands on the shinobi's shoulders. "Naruto, there was a reason why my brothers and I had the wager," Poseidon reassured his little champion. "Centuries ago, when the mortals stopped believing in us, we slowly began to lose our strength. My family and I knew the earth would be thrown off kilter after we were gone, but Zeus had an idea." "Which is it?" "He suggested that each of us choose a mortal to be our successor," Poseidon said. "Frankly, I was surprised when he suggested it, but we all agreed to it." Naruto was stunned. "We've been living among your people ever since, waiting for our heirs to come. Unfortunately, no single person had the potential or worthiness to succeed us over the years. Then the war began, and it was only me, Hestia, and my brothers." Poseidon took a big breath and smiled. "Fortunately, my sister is pleased with her children being her legacy and inheriting her powers. So when you saw me battle the Hollows," Naruto realized, trailing off. "I knew you'd be the one to succeed me, but I had to prove if you were worthy to succeed me, and you did just that," Poseidon said emphatically. "So, I'm going to be a god? No offense, but I'm not looking forward to being a god," Naruto inquired as he grasped the trident correctly by its leather handle. "No, no," Poseidon said, waving his hands, "my immortality, like the majority of my powers, remains with me. But you," he gestured to the befuddled blinking Naruto, "you, too, will gain your own powers." "Huh. But, Lord Poseidon, I can already manipulate water, earth, and wind, with the latter being my strongest and most favorite." Poseidon nodded, but he said, "That's correct. However, as time passes, the trident will begin to take on your power. That is, because wind is your strongest element, it will govern all wind, increasing your mastery of the element, but it also has default qualities." Like what?" "As you mentioned earlier, you can already manipulate water and earth with ease. The trident will accelerate your mastery." The Olympian laughed at Naruto's outburst of, "Hell yes." Before continuing, "The other characteristics are that you can breathe underwater and tolerate any water pressure at all times, as well as keep dry." As he gazed at the trident, Naruto's eyes were filled with stars. "Awesome." He yelled before realizing something else. "Wait, are you sure you want me to be your successor? We simply met yesterday. Today. I'm quite optimistic, Naruto. You'll do fantastic things in my place. So, what should I do?" "Just the usual. Keep the seas calm so that humans can relax. Make sure that all sea creatures are counted, and keep my enemies at bay who might want to take over the seas. No big deal, Poseidon remarked casually, ignoring the sweat drop on Naruto's head. Sure, easy for you to say, Naruto deadpanned, his face dry. Just so you know, I'm not going to be here for long. I'll be leaving in 4 months to cross to the next dimension. Speaking of which, do you and your brothers know anything about the Shinju and his men? Poseidon nodded, his countenance solemn. Yes, I told them after your victory, and you should know that we will back you up when you return to your world. He grinned as his champion gave him an appreciative look. Are you prepared? One more thing. If I'm your successor, what about Kariya and Kabuto? Does Kariya get the Master Bolt, and Kabuto gets the Claws of Hades? He responded with a nod. Great. But, Zeus and Hades will be watching them to make sure they don't abuse their power, and you three will be representing in the games. Naruto lifted an eyebrow in suspicion. What games? He inquired, suspicious. Don't worry, it won't happen for 5 months, so you'll have plenty of time to master the trident, Poseidon stated nervously through Naruto's narrowed eyes. Is that all? Naruto asked, holding the trident. I now bestow the titles of Poseidon and Olympian upon you, Naruto Uzumaki. As the trident shone brightly in Naruto's right hand, thunder roared and lightning flashed across the ceilings in response to the declaration. Things have only gotten more interesting. You're correct. Naruto took a deep breath as he sat cross-legged on a boulder with his eyes closed, indicating that he was meditating. His outfit stayed the same, with the exception of replacing his worn jeans with his leaf shinobi pants. The golden trident sits completely flat on his lap. Tenkaichi, the black sword, is carried on his back. Don't you agree, Kurama, that times of peace like this should be taken advantage of before the next wave of evil arrives? Of course. A brief break from fighting is beneficial to all living things, Kurama said before moving on to the main topic of the conversation. So, are you going to ask him? Groaned Naruto as Kurama continued. It won't hurt you to ask for help, you know. That's rich coming from you, Mr. Prideful, Naruto deadpanned, his eye twitching. You once told me that whenever I use Sage Mode instead of your power during the war, it bothers you. There's a reason for that. You're my Jinchuriki, so you should be using only my power, and we were fighting those Uchihas and Shinju bastards. As Naruto opened his eyes to glance around the training grounds, he couldn't help but sigh as he saw neither of the residents nor feel their spiritual pressure, unless they were suppressing it. He remembers Rukia and Renji leaving for Soul Society to inform the Shinigami of his Olympian status and title of Poseidon. Right now is as good a time as any. Alright then. He breathed another long breath before gently expelling it from his mouth as he closed his eyes again and fell into a profound concentration. Suddenly, his body began to emit a white aura, which moved away from the shinobi. The aura then began to take the shape of a young guy with short spiky black hair, 2 bandaged locks framing either side of his face, and a black forehead protector. He is dressed in a light-colored kimono with magatama around the collar, which is held closed by a dark-colored sash. He is dressed in a black full bodysuit underneath the kimono. He also carries a shakuho, a ringed stick, on his back. It's good to see you again, Naruto, the ethereal entity smiled. The Jinchuriki smiled as he opened his eyes. The same to you, Ashura. Kurama snorted as his Jinchuriki spoke with his long-lost ancestor. Things are really heating up, especially if the sea god thought it was necessary for the Shinigami and his friends to receive upgrades, the enormous fox reflected as he remembered the gathering a few days before. Flashback starts. Recently, Urahara's shop. When Naruto returned to his room, the first thing he wanted to do was take a shower and then sleep after an arduous and eventful day. But that didn't work out since his pals dragged him away from his safe haven of his bed and into the basement training area so that everyone could have more room for themselves. What is it, you guys? Mumbled Naruto, stifling a yawn. Considering what I've been through, he said, drawing blank stares from Renji, Rukia, and Ichigo. What? A tick-marked Renji grabbed Naruto by the neck of his jacket, shaking the befuddled latter. What do you mean, what you? He was interrupted by an irritated Rukia, who pinched his cheek and forced him to let go of Naruto. Rukia, what are you doing? He yelped as Rukia yanked his cheek hard before letting go. You need to think about what Naruto just did. He could have lost his life if he wasn't careful. Rukia chastised Renji for his carelessness. The taller Shinigami now feels like a jerk. Wait, how did you find out about the wager? Poseidon came by earlier and told us, Orihime said cheerfully. Naruto smiled at Orihime before sipping the tea supplied by Ururu. He then turned to face Rukia. Though now that I think about it, there is something really important I have to tell you all, Naruto said, taking a deep breath before saying, the sea god Poseidon chose me to be his successor. He flinched in anticipation of the reaction, which he would get in 3.2.1. What? Naruto explained that he was rubbing his ears to make sure they were still working after the explosion. Yeah, turns out the whole point of the wager was to see if I was worthy of being Poseidon's successor. Ichigo, Renji, Urahara, and Jinta began laughing at him, causing a tick mark to form on the blonde's head. I'm not kidding, says the narrator. Do you really expect us to believe you? Uryu questioned, nodding at the shinobi. Then show us proof. Naruto smiled confidently as he drew up his right sleeve, showing a Fuinjutsu tattoo on his right wrist. After a burst of smoke, there was a golden spear-like object. Naruto, that's not the trident. We asked for proof, Rukia deadpanned dryly. Hold on a second, Naruto said, grabbing the object with his lone leather grasp. After a little while, he vigorously shook the weapon, transforming it into the trident. Here's your proof, he added, gripping the rifle with the black leather handle. That's Poseidon's trident, screamed a stunned Rukia, pointing a finger at Urahara and Yoruichi. Do you mean he gave it to you? Naruto smiled as he rested the weapon over his shoulder before returning the trident to its dormant state and sealing it away on his wrist. Before he and Poseidon parted ways, Naruto asked the original Olympian if he could have the trident transformed into another form in case he didn't need it. So he really did choose you, Urahara observed solemnly as Naruto unsheathed his sheathed sword and resheathed it on his back. What are your plans now? Well. Naruto paused as he took out a scroll and opened it. Everyone watched as the blonde shinobi drew blood from his thumb and slid it across the marks before a cloud of smoke rose, revealing a chest adorned with elaborate ancient Greek symbols. I was planning on giving these to Ichigo and the others tomorrow, but since we're all here, I guess I should do it now. What's in it? A curious Orihime inquired as she tried to peer inside, but was stopped by Naruto, who waved his finger sideways. Before opening the chest, Naruto chuckled at the charming pout the busty girl gave him. Before I left, Poseidon gave me this chest as a gift for you guys, and apparently there are some weapons that suit your fighting styles, he says, his eyes widening as he reaches inside the chest and pulls out what appears to be an orange bow without the string attached. No way. This is the bow of Apollo, the Greek god of the sun. I believe this weapon is for you, Uryu, as you are our only archer. Uryu stretched out and seized the bow, inspecting the craftsmanship. In his palms, it seemed perfectly balanced and light, but he had a thought. How am I supposed to shoot arrows with this? Experiment with pulling it. What? A perplexed Uryu said, looking to Naruto for clarification. Naruto sighed, rolling his eyes. The bow has no string, quiver, or arrows. It converses the wielder's magical power and transforms it into arrows engulfed in flames. In your case, try channeling your spirit energy through it. It should work. Perhaps later, Uryu says as he inspects his new weapon once more. He couldn't afford to tell any of them about his lost Quincy abilities. Is everything alright, Uryu? I'm fine, Ichigo. Thank you. When the Jinchuriki saw Ichigo wave away Quincy's appreciation, he coughed loudly to get their attention back. Alright, let's see what else we have in here. Naruto reached in again, this time pulling a set of huge gauntlets with what appeared to be the Nemean lion's head and claws. Whoa. The Nemean cestus. Hercules' personal weapon when he defeated the Nemean lion. I believe these will work perfectly for you, big guy, because you're the physically strongest guy of us, besides me. Chad nodded and took a step forward, grabbing the gauntlets and trying them on. They were a fantastic fit for his huge arms and hands. He tried a couple jabs with them and was pleased until Naruto urged him to punch one of the nearby stones. Why? He had to ask. Just go for it. Fine, Chad said, walking to the nearest boulder and stopping in front of it. Chad sensed everyone's attention on him, so he took a deep breath and delivered a soft right fist at the boulder. The next thing he knew, a large dust cloud obscured his view of the boulder. After a little period, the cloud evaporated, causing the enormous teenager's eyes to widen, despite the fact that his hair covered them when the boulder was reduced to rubble and dirt. Naruto faced the chest and everyone after allowing Chad to gain control of his weapon's power. Alright, next up is. He reached in with both hands and brought out a pot with a blue flame within, a symbol on it, and a short message on top. Naruto opened it and read it aloud to himself before repeating it aloud for everyone to hear. This is the ice of Poseidon. With this power, you can breach your enemy's defenses and summon glaciers to freeze and crush them. Hey Rukia, doesn't your Zanpakuto control ice? Renji inquired as Rukia nodded, her focus fixed on the kettle. Then you should get it because you control ice and it appears to be more your style. You're right, and it might even help me achieve Bankai. Rukia conceded as she stepped to the pot and tried to raise it with her small hands, but couldn't. What the hell? It was like attempting to lift a mountain that refused to budge. Hold on. Naruto read the note again, his eyes widening as he reached the bottom. Ah, here we go. It says here that you must stab the pot with your weapon to gain power, Rukia. Rukia blinked a few of times before nodding. She drew her sword and attacked the pot with both hands in a downward push. What she didn't expect was for the pot to shatter and many ice shards to form over her blade and up her arms. Ignoring everyone's surprise except Naruto and Urahara, the diminutive Shinigami quickly shook her arms, causing the shards to fall off, leaving no trace of frostbite. What happens now? Try swinging it, Naruto said, as though it were a no-brainer for a weapon user. Rukia gave him a brief look before turning to the location where Chad had shattered the boulder. Rukia swung 3 slashes, channeling her spirit energy into her blade, which generated a white aura, and white ice accompanied each of those slashes. She then pierced the ground, which suddenly changed into a slick ice floor. I can't believe it. Rukia mumbled as she examined her weapon. She was taken aback, to say the least, because she had just employed her Zanpakuto's ice abilities without releasing her Shikai. Perhaps it will improve Shikai's talents. The next item is... Naruto took out another pot similar to the last one, but this time it was yellow. Meanwhile, everyone is perplexed as to how so many items can fit into such a small chest. He went on to explain more after locating and reading another note. This is Zeus Lightning, which allows you to strike multiple enemies with a single attack. HHMM. He stared at Renji, who was smirking as though he knew he was the one. All right, Pineapple Head, you could take it because it'll probably work with you being a whipmaster and all.
Ignoring the nickname, Renji pulled his blade and duplicated Rukia's motion to gain power. He stabbed the pot, and a second later, both his Zanpakuto and arms sparkled with yellow energy for a few moments before dissipating. I'll try the new abilities later. Don't want to spoil the new power for you guys, you know, the Shinigami smirked. With this new skill, he might defeat Ichigo and exact 1,000-fold retaliation for their previous match. In fact, he may have beaten Naruto and Urahara.
Naruto and Ichigo rolled their eyes as the former reached inside the chest one more, only to pull out. Nothing? That's strange. To be honest, I don't want a new weapon or power. I'm fine with Zangetsu, Ichigo remarked, his arms folded and a confident smile on his face. Earlier in the wager, he returned to his body. Well, I'm not fine with Orihime being defenseless, an irritated Naruto replied as Orihime sought to dismiss his worries. He gazed at his right arm as an idea flashed through his mind. Oh, come here for a second, Orihime. Orihime gave a bashful, yes, before approaching the blonde ninja. She was astonished when Naruto placed the golden armlet on her left arm as she saw him remove it. What? Naruto, what is this anyway? She wondered as she examined the armlet. That is the legendary Golden Fleece, Orihime. Its powerful abilities will protect you from attacks by reflecting them back to the enemies, but various sources and experts say it also has powerful healing powers. Naruto responded happily before noticing Ichigo's flat expression. What's up with your expression, Strawberry? Why would she need armor? She's not a fighter, Ichigo replied before noticing a little frown on the girl's face, which made him regret his words. You're right. Everyone looked at Naruto, who had his arms folded and a grin on his face. She's a healer, and that is the most important position in any team, he said, chuckling at Orihime's smile when she heard him say that. In my home dimension, medical shinobi were obviously trained in the medical field to help heal and save the lives of their fellow comrades, but there was a chance of them being killed by the enemy because it is a tactical strategy. So Granny Tsunade made 3 clear rules for the medical shinobi, especially the last one. Which is it? Uryu inquired. They should be the last ones to die, Naruto added as Ichigo prepared to speak. Think about it, Ichigo. If our enemies were able to take her out first in the middle of a battle, who else will heal our wounds? He chuckled inwardly as everyone's eyes widened as they realized his point. That's why, in the coming weeks, we'll all practice teamwork and formations, and Orihime will have to learn how to fight in case we all get separated by chance. Everyone in the room was taken aback by the boy's grasp of military strategy, and they had to concur with his reasoning. So what are we going to do with these weapons? It's not like we can just carry them around and hope no one notices, Uryu stated, referring to his new weapon, while Chad and Orihime agreed with their fingers pointing to their new gear. Naruto sighed and squeezed his nose bridge. Imagine your weapons is something no one would expect. Take my jacket for example. It was the Nemean lion's pelt, and while I was holding it, I thought about turning it into a jacket with a few designs, and the next thing I knew, it turned into this. He pointed to himself, specifically the jacket. Ooh, the group said as they examined their gifts. They closed their eyes and envisioned the forms they wanted their weapons to take, and they gleamed white after a few moments. After the light faded, Naruto, Ichigo, and the kids, as well as the elder Shinigami, examined the new forms of their friends' weapons. Uryu's bow transformed into an orange bracelet with the Quincy symbol on one side and Apollo's symbol on the other. Chad's Nemean cestus transformed into a pair of silver-black fingerless gloves with the Nemean lion symbol emblazoned on them, and Orihime's new. The Shinigami and the substitute Shinigami both said, "Whoa." Naruto laughed as he closed the chest and walked toward the stairs. "Well, that's all there is to it, so I'm going to bed." Flashback ends. Kurama smirked as he went to sleep, taking advantage of the current state of calm. Naruto, on the other hand, has just finished explaining all that has transpired to Ashura, including his status as the next Olympian and his title of Poseidon. This always reminds me of that day. Naruto reflected as Ashura debated what to do with the trident. He remembered how, in the final month of training, the sage revealed to Naruto that he is the current reincarnation of his younger son, and that this is one of the reasons for his chakra's tremendous power. He also revealed that the previous reincarnation was the first Hokage himself, Hashirama Senju, and that this was due to the fact that after their deaths, Ashura and Indra's powerful chakra remained in the world and was reincarnated through various individuals throughout history, eventually leading to the young shinobi being the current inheritor of the younger brother's chakra. Naruto, Naruto, Naruto. When he heard his name for the second time, he growled. "I'm sorry, Ashura. I fell asleep for a second there." "So?" he was asked, raising an eyebrow. "Do you have any style or fashion advice for me?" As the trident shone briefly from his touch, Naruto inquired. HMPH, the spirit crushed his face as he considered a style that might suit the younger shinobi. "To be honest, I know nothing about spear methods or their various styles. I'm familiar with bojutsu, but I don't believe the fundamentals apply to a spear." "Can we at least give it a shot? How will we know if we don't try it?" Naruto replied by rising to his feet and firmly grasping the trident. Ashura sighed as he stood up from his seated position. Sure. We'll get started right away." He remarked this as his body began to glow, suggesting that his time was over. Naruto nodded in agreement as the energy entered his body, briefly glowing before dissipating. Naruto then stared at the trident and began whirling it above his head with his hand in preparation for his new training tomorrow. He suddenly remembered what Poseidon said about the weapon absorbing his power. "I'm curious." As he channeled wind chakra into the three-pronged spear, the Jinchuriki whispered. He was taken aback as the three tips began to light bright blue, and he felt his chakra drawn and collected. He smirked and pointed it at a cluster of pebbles nearby, ready to accomplish whatever he was about to do. Meanwhile, within the seal, Kurama opened one eye before closing it again for a slumber. "The idiot is going to do something that will land him in hot water again," the fox warned the man in front of him. "Yep, should we intervene?" The fox considered it and responded by shaking his head without opening his eyes. "I had the same thought." Ashura smirked as he lay down on the grass, his arms as a pillow, and closed his eyes. 13th Division Barracks Seirei Training Grounds. "Sigh, that'll do for today," a panting Rukia muttered as she sheathed her sword. She looked around the valley where she was standing, where ice shards protruded from the ground and enormous pillars protruded from the walls. Rukia had wanted to get acclimated to using the peculiar power Naruto had given her since her return from the world of the living, and she was both impressed and amazed. It turns out that the ability is automatic when she is in fight or training and just consumes a small amount of spirit energy. "Wow, Rukia, that was impressive." When the Kukichi Shinigami turned back, she noticed her smiling captain approaching her with someone else. "It's quite a feat for someone lower than lieutenant or captain to use your Shikai's abilities without releasing it," Yukataki commented proudly. "Thank you, Captain Yukataki," Rukia said uneasily, rubbing her head. She couldn't bring herself to inform her commander that the talent is actually an Olympian god's gift. She then turned to face the person standing next to the captain. "How are you doing, Captain Hitsugaya? Have you your wounds healed?" The young commander was short, with short, spiky white hair and turquoise eyes, and he appeared to be a child. To indicate his rank, he wears the traditional Shinigami attire with the captain's cloak. His Zanpakuto and sheath are linked to a green sash around his shoulders on either end, with a circular, star-like clip holding the sash together. "Yes, they have," Hitsugaya said, nodding. "Thank you for your inquiry." He examined the melting ice spears as he peered around the valley. "Your Zanpakuto has the potential to be extremely powerful. Perhaps it will grow to be as powerful as my Zanpakuto." Rukia's eyes widened with surprise. "I really mean it, Rukia." "Thank you for your compliment, sir." Before lifting her head, the little Shinigami made a slight bow. Is there anything I can do for you? Naruto Uzumaki is a manga character. Rukia blinked and tilted her head, perplexed. And how about him? I've heard rumors about Uzumaki and his strength and abilities, but they're just that. Rumors. I'd like to hear from you because you met him during your time in the world of the living, said Hitsugaya. During his recuperation, the young captain overheard stories about a mysterious yet powerful blonde Ryoka and his struggles with the head captain, Aizen, and his conspirators. Well, Naruto is a very powerful human warrior with a lot of experience, but he acts like an idiot sometimes, Rukia added, pausing to allow the two captains absorb the information. He's obviously stronger than Ichigo. Hitsugaya pushed for her to continue. In fact, he was recently chosen to succeed Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea. I read that part in your report, Yukataki said, wiping his chin. You can only imagine what the other captains thought of Naruto's ascent. The veteran Shinigami has heard stories and myths about the other prominent individuals in human religion. Captain Kenpachi was stopped from going to the world of the living and challenging Naruto to a fight to the death. He's always up for a good fight. I also read the report and it mentioned Naruto receiving the trident, Hitsugaya added before anything sprang to mind. Elaborate, he was told. The weapon is, Rukia responded. She stopped before continuing. The trident was Poseidon's personal weapon. He gave it to Naruto to represent his new position and title. I've also heard that the trident is an extremely strong weapon, but I believe Naruto would never abuse it or his position. He's not that type of guy. Moments passed before the two captains nodded and turned around to go. That was all I needed to know. Thank you, Rukia, Hitsugaya said before joining Yukataki in shunpoing. Karakura High School, Karakura Village. Things are calm for now, Ichigo thought as he peered out the window, his hand on his chin. I haven't seen one since Naruto returned from the wager. Since then, all hollow activity has diminished dramatically, for whatever reason, with the exception of a few of the terrible animals here and there. But when he did come across a hollow, Ichigo was bewildered when the monster shivered in place, as if it was afraid of something or someone. Now that I think about it, Naruto's spiritual pressure is slightly different in some ways. May. Good morning, class, exclaimed their homeroom instructor. She was a woman in her late 20s dressed in a loose shirt and skirt, with brown eyes and matching hair color. I'll talk to the others about it. He was sitting in one of the classroom's tables, and he wasn't alone. His closest pals from before and during their voyage in Soul Society were also assigned to the same homeroom. Orihime sat at the desk to his right, Chad at the desk to his left, and Uryu in front of the enormous teenager. They were all wearing the new equipment Naruto had given them as part of their school uniform. I've got some great news. Apparently, several transfer students will be arriving from Kuo Academy, so let's all give them a warm welcome from Karakura. What about transfer students? What time of year is it? Uryu inquired curiously, his eyes narrowing. It's been a week since the wager and Naruto assuming the title of Poseidon and the trident. This can't possibly be a coincidence. Ichigo unintentionally completed Uryu's thought. You should notify Urahara and Naruto about this just to be safe. Please excuse me, are we in the right place? Inquired a fresh voice. Everyone turned their focus to the entrance and were taken aback by the sight standing within. The voice belonged to a young woman in her late 20s with a curvy shape, pale skin tone, blue-green eyes, and long blood-red thigh-length hair with a single strand sticking out on top and loose bangs covering her forehead and framing her face. She was dressed in the girls' Karakura High School uniform, which embraced every part of her figure. Hello, my name is Rias Gremory. Whoa, thought Ichigo, Uryu, and Chad, who had tinges of scarlet on their cheeks but kept their cool unlike their fellow males. The teacher glanced at her new student, ignoring the nosebleeds and wolf whistles from her male students. Ms. Gremory, it's a pleasure to have you here. As she examined the girl's body, the teacher murmured with a strain in her voice. How does a girl like her get such a body? Please accept my apologies for being late. We ran into complications on our way, Rias replied as she entered the classroom with confidence and dignity. We thought the Karakura group. When the other transfer students arrived, the entire class was prepared for another surprise as 3 beautiful girls and 2 boys strolled in, all dressed in Karakura High School uniforms. The first girl was Rias's age and height, with a buxom physique, long black hair, and violet eyes. Her hair is tied in a long ponytail that reaches all the way down to her legs, with 2 strands jutting out from the top and sliding backwards, held in place by an orange ribbon. In addition to her new uniform, she donned black knee-high socks. The young lady smiled and waved to everyone. My name is Akeno Hamejima. It's a pleasure to meet you all. The lads sighed and smiled goofily without Ichigo, Chad, or Uryu, while the girls gazed at the more gorgeous girl. Akeno stroked the girl next to her and motioned for her to introduce herself. The girl appeared to be between the ages of 15 and 16, with long blonde hair that flowed all the way down to her back, split bangs over her brow, and a single strand hanging out from the top, sloping backwards. She has green eyes as well. Hello, everyone. Asia Argento is my name. I'm hoping we can all become buddies. She said this with a flush to her cheeks. She then turned to face the girl sitting next to her. Kaneko? Kaneko, the girl, was a small 15-year-old with white hair and hazel eyes. She has 2 long bangs that stretch past her shoulders and many loose bangs that dangle over her forehead in the front, with a short bob cut in the back. On the side of her hair, she also wears a black cat-shaped hair clip. She gave Asia a nod before speaking. My name is Kaneko Taju, she stated monotonously. Everyone blinked in response to the girl's brief introduction, while one of the lads went forward, taking the brief introduction as his cue. Good day, everyone. Yuto Kiba is my name. It's an honor to be here. He remarked this while winking at a female in the front who had passed out in her seat. Yuto has short blonde hair, gray eyes, and a mole under his left eye. His attractive looks drew the attention of all the female pupils, especially because there were girls peering through the windows outside the classroom. Ichigo narrowed his brows as the last boy in line moved forward following Yuto. With short brown hair and bright brown eyes, the boy appeared to be roughly 17 years old. He donned his open shirt over a red t-shirt and blue and white sneakers instead of the brown shoes required of Ichigo and the other males. Nothing, however, could have prepared him or anybody else for what the boy said. My name is Issei Hyodo, and I will be the harem king. Issei remarked proudly, his arms up. The boy's announcement enraged everyone, especially the girls, while the new pupils sighed exasperatedly. That is, until Kaneko gave him a hard elbow in the gut and snarled, pervert. As Issei collapsed over and went to his knees, she didn't even look up to view her job. Sai-o Issei, Rias grumbled before going to the teacher, excuse me, but do you have a student named Naruto Uzumaki in your registry? When she stated the name, she didn't observe Ichigo or the others perk up. The teacher shook her head and wrinkled her brow before searching through her clipboard. Not at all, Ms. Gremory. I don't have any students with that name. Why do you inquire? Is he related? He is, indeed. He's my long-lost cousin, and I found out he was in town. I assumed he would go to this school. The teacher nodded and pointed the new students to the open seats around the classroom, which were only in the rear row behind Ichigo and his buddies. As the students passed them by and took their seats, Uryu looked at Ichigo, who returned the gaze, and they knew one thing for sure. Naruto doesn't have a cousin or family in town, or anywhere. Things will become more complicated once more. Noon, along with Naruto. Ah. I'm so bored right now, grumbled Naruto as he sat boredly on the roof of a strange building. A wall with an indent and spider web fissures surrounded him. His right hand supported his head as he gazed out at the tranquil town around him, Tenkaichi strapped on his back as before, but this time he performed the transparency jutsu on the sword to save him the trouble of sealing the weapon. He examined his right wrist, which bore the characters meaning, trident. Thank goodness I sealed the trident on my wrist instead of my back. He reasoned that it would be wiser to keep one of the most powerful weapons ever created hidden rather than flaunting it like a toy. As much as he enjoys employing his clan's skills, there comes a point when you must be on guard at all times, especially when a maniac betrays his compatriots in order to obtain power and become an immortal being. Kid, are you sure, Kurama? Are you a moron? I've been referred to as such before. That no longer bothers me. Kurama said something about oblivious blonde shinobi. If you're referring to my responsibilities as Poseidon, you don't have to worry because I sent my clones to take care of them. Okay. I was about to chastise you for not doing so, but whatever. Okay. So, where should we go? I doubt Yoruichi has calmed down by this point. Naruto shuddered in terror, trembling. Kurama laughed at his partner's predicament. Earlier, while testing the trident with his wind chakra, Naruto became overly excited and mistakenly launched an energy beam into the ceiling. A powerful beam that blew out the room where the female Shinigami was cleaning herself. Naruto was sent flying across town and smacked against the wall of the building he's staying in. The next thing he knew, Naruto then massaged his chin before a thought occurred to him. I'm curious how Ichigo manages his black power. Given the severity and strength of his spiritual pressure at Soul Society, I'd say he had no idea. And he hasn't taken any initiative or tried to manage it since. He suddenly felt a tug on his left arm and turned to see Sui in her small form popping her head out of his jacket sleeve, peering about suspiciously. Naruto locked his gaze on Sui until the hippocampus resurfaced on the inside of his sleeve. Naruto discovered that Sui and the rest of her race have pledged to obey and protect him since he took the titles of Poseidon and Olympian. He also discovered Sui wanted to be with him as a thank you for her release from prison, and she enjoyed his demeanor. He's probably ignoring it and preferring to rely on his own strength. Does anyone in particular remind you of anyone? Kurama, it's been a long time since you and I became friends, but I'm thinking of assisting him in gaining control because he's going through the same thing I did with you. The fox barked at him. What? I'm simply stating the facts. Do you think he and the others are out of school by now? Naruto wondered before feeling a familiar pinging in his thoughts. He rose to his full height fast. Something is wrong. What do you believe it is? Kurama grunted, I don't know, before the child deployed a smoke bomb to shield himself from the prying eyes of his stalkers and vanished in a yellow flash. Karakura Senior High School. When Naruto emerged from the space-time abyss, he found himself on the rooftop of a building surrounded by fence walls. Ichigo stood against the fence wall, arms crossed, with Uryu, Chad, and a beaming Orihime nearby. A Hiroshin kunai stood between him and his pals. He'd handed it to Orihime for emergencies. This must be an emergency, Naruto speculated. Hey guys, he said, trying to lighten the situation. What exactly is going on? We might have a problem. Uryu responded after adjusting his glasses, as is his custom. How so? You'll know if you sense the 5 new spiritual pressures in the school. Naruto shook his head and closed his eyes, sensing the spiritual pressures. He opened his eyes in astonishment a moment later and was going to respond when Chad spoke first. They feel demonic, Chad said. The outputs feel just as potent, if not more so, than a hollow spiritual pressure. Yeah, but all of their power outputs are stronger than the guy in town. Earlier today, I sensed 3 other spiritual pressures and they were following me around town, but only one of them is demonic, Naruto stated to the others. I'm fairly certain I lost them after employing the flying Raijin technique. With a grin and a twinkle in his eyes, he said. Ichigo recognized the gleam all too well because he and Naruto are similar in nature. So should we do what we do best? Ichigo asked, lifting his head with the same sparkle in his gaze. Naruto nodded with a sly grin on his face. Let's beat the hell out of them, exclaimed Chibi Naruto and Ichigo, who exchanged high fives. Said Orihime, Chad, and Uryu. They surely did not anticipate this. Alright, let's go. Naruto remarked this as he and Ichigo prepared to battle if the new classmates turn out to be adversaries. Naruto felt a large quantity of killing intent from above before he could even take a step, as did everyone else. When he lifted his head to see what was going on, all he saw was the bottom of a shoe before darkness descended. Ichigo and the others stared still as Yoruichi savagely kicked Naruto against the cement floor. Yoruichi then grabbed the unconscious shinobi's leg and spun around forcefully until she let go of her grip. Everyone cringed as Naruto slid down the concrete wall and onto the floor. Damn, Ichigo exclaimed, his face flushed. What did he do to aggravate Yoruichi? Come here, Naruto, Yoruichi said as she pulled Naruto by his collar, a charming smile and a lethal aura on her face. You're going to pay for what you did to me in the showers. This gained Uryu a nosebleed and crimson blushes from Ichigo and Chad, while Orihime stood there perplexed. A loud ripping sound penetrated the insides of everyone's eardrums before Yoruichi could unleash her punishment on Naruto. The gang turned around to observe a dark rip-like hole in the sky. Above a park. That isn't good. Yoruichi had stated that she felt a strong presence in the region. That's not good at all. Previously, Karakura Park people went about their business, enjoying life. Parents enjoying themselves and playing with their children. Couples out on a date. They were so engrossed in one element of life that they didn't notice the presence of 2 people in a clearing surrounded by trees. May I now eat these souls, Ulquiorra? Remarked a man, evidently agitated, with his jawbone hanging on his chin. He was a giant with tan skin, a strong physique, and a ridge-lined head. His chest has a huge hole in the center. His eyes are brown, with orange brows and red under-eye marks. Despite being bald, he has black hair with matching long, bushy sideburns and a slender ponytail that reaches his upper back. He is dressed in an open white jacket with a white hakama that is kept together by a black sash. I'm getting fed up with these humans ignoring us. The man, now known as Ulquiorra, simply sighed and frowned at his much taller colleague. He is an average-height slim man with short, messy black hair, pale white complexion, a black upper lip, and green eyes with little slit-shaped pupils, thick brows, and a hole in his throat. Teal lines emerge from the corners of his eyes. He wears the same clothing as Yami. A white jacket with a black sash and a white hakama. The jacket's longer coattails and higher collar are the sole variations. Of course, they'd ignore us because they can't see or sense us. They clearly do not think you are important enough. What? Enough wailing, Yami. Keep in mind why we're here. That seemed to settle down the larger man. We need to find Ichigo Kurosaki and the blonde whiskered human, Ulquiorra remarked, touching his mask on the top left side of his head. The mask resembled a shattered horned helmet. Do what you're good at. As Yami turned to face the unsuspecting humans, a horrible grin crept across his face. There are no arguments there, Ulquiorra. While cracking his knuckles, he said, to be continued.
That's it for this podcast. Thanks for listening to this video. If you did enjoy this part of the story, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support and have a great day.